Welcome back to another Social Security benefits update and a stimulus check update. We're going to talk about the chances of a fourth stimulus check. We've got a lot of people arguing for the check and a lot of people arguing against it. So we're going to talk about both sides of the spectrum. We're also going to do a quick update on Biden's current stimulus package, that infrastructure plan, and whether or not we might get Social Security reform in that package. Remember, President Biden still has not announced the full details of that package. Of course, we're going to cover that $200 per month stimulus boost as well. But before we get into it, don't forget to like this video and subscribe. I'd also like to thank my sponsor, Webull. They've partnered with me to provide free stocks for my viewers, valued up to $1,800. It's completely free, and all you have to do is open an account using the link that's in the description of this video. Okay, so there's been a lot of talk about a fourth stimulus check. Will there be a fourth stimulus check? When might this happen? And why is President Biden not talking about this? There are a lot of congressmen fighting for a fourth check. There are over 75 congressmen and women that want a fourth round of stimulus checks, but the majority of people in Congress do not want a stimulus check. And that is because they believe the economy overall is recovering. They think that vaccinations are going out at a fast pace, and that is going to lead to us going back to normal, and therefore saying we do not need a fourth stimulus check. Not only that, the unemployment numbers continue to go down, and GDP, which is a metric that we use to measure economic growth, is actually going up substantially. Now, at the same time, a lot of people are arguing for a fourth stimulus check, mainly because they're saying that those who are at the bottom, those who are low income, are still hurting and still need this money. Otherwise, they will slip back into poverty, almost honestly insinuating that we should have a universal basic income, even if it's just one stimulus check or two stimulus checks per year, so they are not forced to live in poverty. Now, they're pointing out the fact that between the first stimulus check and the second stimulus check, 8 million Americans fell into poverty, and as soon as they received their next stimulus check, they were able to go above the poverty threshold, meaning they could better afford food, health care, and basic necessities like shelter. So let's quickly read over this article by CNBC, and then we're going to jump right into that $200 per month stimulus boost and Social Security benefits reform, which we're hoping Biden will announce shortly and include in his infrastructure bill. Now, to date, the government has sent about 159 million payments for this third round of stimulus checks. This helped the economy grow. Retail sales jumped by 9.8% in March, which is a massive jump on a month-to-month basis. And again, this doesn't directly help you, but the economy as a whole does seem to be heading in the right direction, despite the fact that those at the bottom are still struggling. These three stimulus checks helped to increase the income by 20% for the lowest income households. Just think about that. Just those three stimulus checks helped to lift millions of Americans out of poverty and increase their income by 20%, because that is how low their income is, and that is completely unacceptable. This goes back to the fact that we need an increase in minimum wage. Nobody should be forced to live in poverty in this country if they work full time. Not only that, we need to increase Social Security benefits reform. Now, our retirees who have worked their entire lives and paid taxes deserve to retire with dignity. And guys, let me know in the comments if you agree. It's honestly unacceptable that three small stimulus checks would raise somebody's income by 20%. That just shows you that the underlying economic system is not working well for the average American. We need change. And this is why people are advocating not only for a fourth stimulus check, but also to fix the economic system to work for the average American, to raise that minimum wage, to raise Social Security benefits. Now, this article states that the third round of stimulus checks helped to keep 11 million people out of poverty. So just think about that. In a few months, once those checks are spent, those people will fall back into poverty once again. This is why a fourth round of stimulus checks would greatly help those at the bottom. Don't get me wrong. If you're already working, if you already make $50,000 a year, $60,000 a year, you don't necessarily need a fourth round of stimulus checks. But if you're on the cusp of living in poverty, I do believe that a fourth round of stimulus checks is warranted, almost as a bridge until Congress can approve a higher minimum wage and things of that nature to increase the quality of life for the average American. Now, another metric that the government uses to show that the economy is growing is the unemployment rate. Now, the unemployment rate is down to about 6% now, still double what it was before the pandemic, but not terrible compared to how it was. Remember, we reached almost 15% at the peak of the unemployment rate, but at the same time, minorities still have a much higher unemployment rate than most. Blacks, for example, have an unemployment rate of 9.6%. This is why those who are low income and those who are minorities are still being hit the hardest by this pandemic. The unemployment rate for white collar jobs honestly never got bad. People just worked from home. The people who work at a desk at a computer were able to just work from home, and the unemployment rate never got bad for those jobs. But for those who are blue collar workers, they were forced to be laid off. Restaurant workers, bartenders, hotel workers, jobs of that nature, of course, they're starting to come back, but the unemployment rate for those sectors are still really, really bad, and that's an argument to have a fourth round of stimulus checks. Now, if we quickly take a look at the unemployment rate, on the left side of your screen is March of 2020, and on the right side of your screen is March of 2021. So obviously we peaked in April of 2020, and we've slowly lowered that unemployment rate, but we've pretty much flattened at about 6%. That number has not really gotten better in the last few months. We were at 6.7% in December, and now we're down to 6% in March. So in about 5 months, 4 or 5 months, we went down less than 1%. So unemployment continues to be a problem. So I do expect at the very least to have another unemployment boost approved. And then we jump into the conversation of, if you're going to approve a weekly unemployment boost, how can you justify not approving a monthly stimulus boost for people who are on Social Security? Of course, those who are unemployed had a $600 per week boost for months. Then they've had the $300 per week boost for months. But at the same time, President Biden promised that $200 per month boost for people on Social Security. Again, I'm talking about a $200 just once a month compared to unemployment boosts, which are every single week. Kind of doesn't make sense, and let me know in the comments if you agree. It almost makes me feel as if our congressmen do not value the elderly as much as they should. If you've paid into the tax system your entire life, you deserve to get the help, especially during a recession, and especially when those COLA increases were completely too low. These COLA increases are ridiculous and do not actually keep up with inflation. And guys, let me know in the comments if you agree. But this is why we're hoping that President Biden will include this boost in this current infrastructure package. And at the very least, we're hoping that he will include Social Security reform, increasing taxes on the rich to then provide more funds for Social Security to increase benefit payments and make sure that Social Security remains funded for decades to come. Now, as I've talked about in many of my videos, President Biden's plan to protect Social Security is to raise Social Security taxes for the rich. Now, as of now, if you make over $140,000 per year, you no longer pay into Social Security, and at the same time, your benefits are capped as well. So you stop paying, but then your benefit payment does not go up anymore either because you've reached the max. Now, what Biden wants to do is increase taxes on those who make over $400,000 per year. These people do not pay into Social Security at all. He wants to change that. He wants those people to pay that 6.2% Social Security tax that the rest of us pay. If you make $20,000 a year, you pay into that tax. So if you make $400,000 a year, you should as well. That's his argument. But again, the Republicans do not want to do this, and even moderate Democrats are giving him pushback. Now, earlier this month, President Biden announced the first part of his infrastructure package, but he still has not announced the entire details. So Biden could still include the Social Security tax and still include Social Security benefits reform. And honestly, I think there is a really good chance he does this. I do think this is a really strong possibility. I'd say it's about a 60% chance he does, but then there's a 40% chance he leaves this for the next stimulus package, which is expected to happen at the end of 2021. But this tax increase is a problem because just based off of the announcement Biden already made, he is getting a lot of pushback on these tax increases, specifically by moderate Democrats like Joe Manchin. We all remember Joe Manchin. He is the guy that almost ruined the third stimulus check because he didn't think they were necessary. Well, we're having the same obstacles with this current infrastructure package. President Biden wants to increase taxes on corporations, and Joe Manchin is pushing back. He is okay with raising the corporate tax rate a bit, but he thinks if we make it too high, that we will not be competitive on a global stage from a tax perspective, and that companies will just go to China or go somewhere else to base their company and still sell their products in the US. Well, honestly, in my opinion, I don't care about that. We need to find a way to make sure that corporations are paying their fair share. You know, if you take your company, you don't want to pay taxes here, so you go to another country, well, then you know what? You can't sell your products here. How about that? You are banned from selling your products in the US if you don't want to pay your fair share of taxes. And let me know in the comments if you agree. I just think it's ridiculous that we have our elderly, our disabled, who are forced to live in poverty because corporations like Amazon don't want to pay their fair share of taxes. And then we have congressmen saying, well, we can't raise taxes because they'll just leave to another country. They'll base their company in Guam or something ridiculous to not pay taxes. Well, my answer to that is fine, go to another country, but then you can't sell your products here. Then what are you going to do? The US has one of the largest economies in the world, and these companies need us as well. They need us to buy their products, so they need to pay their fair share in taxes. There's also a couple other tax issues. There are a lot of Democratic senators who are saying Biden has to make one change to this bill in order to get it done. It's something called the SALT deduction. Now, basically the way this works is you pay state taxes and you pay federal taxes. Now, state taxes can vary greatly based off of which state you live in, and a lot of people are even moving out of state if the tax is too high in that state. For example, New York has really high state taxes, so a lot of people are moving to Florida that has zero state tax in order to avoid that. But one thing the federal government used to do to kind of offset that issue is they would let you use your state tax that you paid as a tax deduction towards your federal income tax, if that kind of makes sense. Basically, the higher your state income tax got, the lower your federal income tax would get to kind of help offset that to a certain extent. Trump put a hard cap on that, so it doesn't really help you as much, and that mainly hurts blue states. Democratic states, which have higher state income tax, have been hurt by that rule, and they want President Biden to roll that back, put it back to what it was. We'll have to wait and see if Biden is willing to do so, but it looks like he's going to have to do that in order to get this infrastructure bill done. So we'll have to wait and see what happens, guys. But as things stand today, they continue to negotiate the details of this package, and we do expect to have an announcement in the next couple of weeks by President Biden telling us the rest of what he wants to include in this bill. Again, hopefully Social Security benefits reform with larger benefit payments, a larger COLA increase, and more taxes on the rich to fund Social Security benefits long term, and hopefully that $200 per month stimulus boost. We all know that President Biden promised that to seniors on the campaign trail, and one of the reasons that Biden won this election is because seniors came out to vote in droves. So guys, with that said, thank you so much for watching my video. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe if you like this content, and share this channel with anybody who you think might find this helpful. We should have a lot of updates in the next couple weeks regarding this package and Social Security updates. So until the next video, take care and have a great day.